either due to physical needs or financial. And so, but he was also a pilot, and he said, well, I talked to one of his patients and said, well, I would love to take you if you will allow me. And he said, oh my gosh, absolutely. So he took him and they went and visited and had an amazing time. And then he talked to another patient and he said, well, I'd love to take you. And he said, absolutely, I would love to go. So he took another one. Well, the word was spreading, and now he had a bunch of veterans that wanted to go. So he talked to his club members and he said, can we get together and do a huge flight and take all these veterans on? And so everyone agreed. And they took, it did cost them quite a bit of money. It went from $600 to $1,200 for the day, just for them to take these guys. But they went ahead and they took them. And then they were up to 137. And they said, we need to make this a little bigger. So by 2005, Jeff Miller, who was a dry cleaning owner in he said, okay, let's make this a lot bigger. And he asked if people would just come up and sponsor, and they did. They ended up sponsoring the whole jet plane of 137 veterans who all went at the same time. In February 2008, Senator Bob actually nominated Earl and Jeff for the prestigious Presidential Citizens Medal, and that was awarded to them by George W. Bush. After that, we're now there's about 140 hubs throughout the United States. And one of them is obviously Puget Sound Honor Flight, which is the one right here out of Seattle. So far, we've done 31 flights. Around 1,500 veterans have gone. We go on 4 flights a year, April, May, September, and October. And every veteran has a guardian. Louise up above, she was actually my first veteran that I went with. She's a retired World War II Marine. She is still with us, and she is 105 as of today. And the gentleman down below is Fred. Also went with him on one of the trips. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But it's just an amazing opportunity. The first flight that we did out of Seattle was in 2013. And at this point, we are 5 years wait list for the flight. What's really amazing about this trip is it's not just a trip, especially for Korean and Vietnam. It's more of making the veterans feel that they actually did something. When they came back, especially Vietnam vets, it was a terrible welcome home. There was no welcome home. So we make it an absolute effort to make it a point to make them feel special, honored, and thank them for their service. Every step of the way is red carpet treatment all the way. As they come onto our flight, they're welcomed by hundreds of folks welcoming them to their flight. As they get off the flight, there's hundreds of people thanking them all along the way. When we get to Washington, D.C., the memorials we visit are World War II Memorial, the Korean, the Vietnam, Arlington Memorial. We go to the Tomb of the Unknown and exchanging of the guards, the Navy Memorial, the Marines, Air Force, Nurses Memorial, Women's Memorial, Coast Guard. What's amazing about this trip is all along the way, we honor each veteran as they come along. We represent each one. Every person is just honored to be part of this. Some of the stories that we hear from the veterans are, I compare this to the birth of my first child, or the emotions when I first got married, or I've never, ever heard anyone say thank you to me. When we walk through the, where's the other picture? As we arrive at World War II Memorial, there's always hundreds of people lined up all along, and people just walk through and thank all the veterans. As we get to the Vietnam Wall, there's always people just thanking everyone and guiding everyone along the way. Some of the stories, and I want to share a couple. There was a gentleman that stood at the entrance of the Vietnam Wall Memorial, and he wouldn't walk. He just stood there. And one of the guardians just came up and said, if you don't mind, I'll walk with you. And you don't have to talk or say anything. I'll just walk with you. And he said, okay. And they walked. And when they got to the end, he broke down and just cried and was so thankful for the opportunity. He said, thank you so much. This means the world to me. Another gentleman was standing and he was looking for his buddy, but he couldn't remember the last name. And we kept looking and we kept looking for his buddy. Excuse me. We couldn't find him. As he was thinking, I went to help another veteran to find his buddy on the Vietnam Wall. And as he stood, he leaned over and I could hear him hollering, I found him. As he leaned over, his hand was literally right below the name of his buddy. And it was just, and again, everyone's crying. It's super emotional. And it's just an amazing trip. I had to share a personal story. My father-in-law is a Vietnam vet. And I've been doing this for 10 years. And I would always tell him about my trips. And he would always tell me, that's great. That's great. That's great, sweetie. This is not for me. I'm good. And last year, when I came back from my trip, one of the trips that I was taking was in September. And my husband, Phil, was on the phone with him and said, oh, Lily, I just got back from her trip. And she had 2 Vietnam vets with her. And they had such a great time. And he was just telling her about my last trip. And he finally said, well, if Lilia wants me to go, then I guess I better go. So my husband said, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. You get to go with my dad. And I said, no, you're going with your dad. I'll come along and I'll have plenty of veterans that need a guardian. So we did. So last April, we went on the trip, and I had 2 more veterans that I was a guardian to, and then my husband and my father-in-law. On our way back, they always do a mail call. And what that is we get together and we have friends, relatives, kids, everyone write thank you letters for their service. And on our flight back, when I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when they did mail call, when you come back from a mission, they do a mail call and they announce your last name if you have mail, and you run up and get your mail. Well, on the trip back, everyone gets mail call and everyone gets a name and a huge packet of thank you letters from grandkids and kids and relatives and friends and family members. And it's quite special. And as my father-in-law right there, Floyd, was reading his letters, was watching him just sobbing, and he got out of his seat and he came and just hugged us both and just cried and said, "Thank you so much for convincing me to go. This has been the best experience of my lifetime. Nobody has ever thanked me for my service." That's what it does to a person. This trip is absolutely incredible. And when we come back, there's hundreds of people welcoming us back, military personnel. As they get off the plane, whatever branch you're with, they grab on to the veteran and they escort them to the atrium where we have a huge celebration for all of them. They're lined up with all the military personnel, people from the airport, just everyone. And everyone is just thanking them, welcoming them, and are just so, everyone is just always so amazed. I want to show a quick video. Oh, thank you.
Okay, we're just gonna hang on. Technical issues. I'm gonna start it over here. This one.
Puget Sound honor flight with veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. God bless our veterans. God bless America.
Thank you for your service. You too. Thank you for your service.
Welcome everybody. Can you hear me? One, two, three, look at that.
We're at the Korean Memorial. It's very impressive. There's a number of bronze statues around representing those that didn't come back.
Laverne Gertler, 91 years old, Korea.
Yes.
We are at the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C.
And this is part of the honor flight?
Papa's honor flight.
How's it feeling, Papa?
Very impressive. Very.
Names are arranged in the order that they go. You're standing here as you're looking at the first and the last side by side.
United States Navy.
That's for you.
Sergeant Lionel Johansson, United States Marine Corps. Commander Robert Jones, United States Navy.
I did how it went.
That's a big bunch of mail.
Private First Class Bernard Moskowitz, United States Army.
Mr. Youngblood? There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your meal.
If you guys know of any veterans that haven't heard of this program or would love to come, I would love to get them connected, get them signed up, and get them to go, especially Vietnam vets. They have a special, you? Not all the time. The question was, do we always have enough guardians to go around? Most of the time, yes, but not all the time. One of the last year, I think it was in May, Denise had called and said, Lilia, we need one more guardian. Can you come? I said, absolutely. And so I just jumped up and said, we just need one more guardian. So if you want to be a guardian, we always are looking for guardians. All you have to do is just go on the website and sign up. There's an application. You can submit it online. You can mail it in. And then also, of course, sign up a veteran to go. Another one is we're always looking for cards for mail call. Like in a few months ago, I actually went to my son's school and did a presentation, and all the kids wrote cards for the veterans. And so they had a ton of cards that was sent in along our flight when we went in April. So that's always a nice thing to do as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes.
Very inspirational.
Yes. Thank you. Do you have a question?
Now, let's see.
First of all, thank you so much for your involvement in the program. It's a wonderful program. But with all the things that occur in Washington, this has got to be a multi-day trip. How many days are people there?
It's a 3-day trip. We always leave Saturday first thing in the morning, and we come home late Monday night.
Yeah, I'm going to add to what you have to say, I've supported On Flight San Diego for the last 10 years in fundraising, also as a guardian. As a guardian, I took a 91-year-old Korean War veteran to Washington, D.C. on Flight San Diego. He was with the 7th Division, had 2 Bronze Stars from this time in Korea, and he became a great friend of mine. And one of the stories, like you say, it's very important when you go. I think Steven Spielberg got this right. The first theme from Saving Private Ryan. There's Private Ryan. He goes to Captain Miller's gravesite right there in Normandy, and with his family around, he breaks down. He never spoke about his experiences in World War II. And then when you get on honor flight, and you all come together at that hotel, and you have that first night's dinner.
Yeah.
They all start to tell their story.
Yes.
It's very, very powerful. So I encourage people to sign up for become a guardian, or if you know a World War II, Korean War, or a Vietnam veteran, have them sign up to become a part of this, because it is an experience for them of a lifetime.
Yes. We cry a lot. We do. But yeah.
How many of the veterans go on each flight generally?
There's usually 55, around 50 to 55 veterans, and each one has a guardian. Sometimes if the veterans are pretty active and still very mobile, I've had 2 vets with me on a few trips because they're pretty mobile, so I can handle it. When I went with Louise, I just had her because she was in a wheelchair most of the time. But usually it's 1 guardian per veteran.
Any other questions? Oh, Steve.
Thank you, Lily. I've been a guardian, and just want to echo your several trips that I've been on. It's really an amazing experience. So I would encourage anybody or everybody, everyone to sign up and do it. It's really amazing. One of the things you I'm not sure, I came in a couple minutes late, sure. When the motor coaches go in on, they have the honor guard motorcycle guys.
Yes,
Patriot guard, right?
yes.
Yeah, and they're cool. Especially on Monday morning. Because of traffic and nobody gets from BWI Hilton to the memorials faster in all of Maryland and DC. Because those coaches are rolling and it's really incredible. I was in the front seat of the second coach one trip and they're about 2 or 3 feet apart doing about 80. And it's really neat. And also when you get to World War II Memorial, you saw it at the BWI terminal, you saw the fellow, Breyer ringing bell. There's a lot of people in costume greeting the veterans at the World War II memorials. It's really, and you never know who's going to show up. One trip we were on, Dave Reichert, Sheriff Dave Reichert was Congressman at the time. He came and talked and just really something else. Put it on your bucket list as something to do in your life. And one last thing, everybody in the room is pretty ambulatory, and on Saturday night, most of the vets, head to bed. You kind of hit the bar, get to know everybody, people start talking, then you have a nice dinner. And what we did on one trip, I did with the photographer, one of my other friends, the Guardians, we got an Uber and we went back to the memorials at night and they're all lit up. Really, take your camera.
Hey, Johnny.
Thanks for Kurt to having you here.
Oh,
You did not mention funding. I'm assuming that the veterans themselves are covered expense-wise, and the guardians probably are on their own. But where does the funding come from? How can people get involved in contributing to the funding of getting these veterans back there?
I'm so glad you asked. It is not funded by the government at all. It is completely private. It comes from you guys, families, veterans. The veterans are completely complimentary. The guardians are, we pay our way. It's $1,000 for me to go, which completely covers my entire trip, food, hotel and everything. But if you are willing and can donate, if you just go on our website and click the donate button, and you can donate that way. And of course, spread the word.
Thank you.
Another question. Honor flight is 501c3.
Correct.
Yeah, I do a Facebook fundraiser every year for a veterans organization. Last year I did honor flight in Puget Sound. It's a very easy thing to do. I raised thousands of dollars. You go on there and say, hey, look, for this year's my birthday, I want to raise funds for either STEP or some other veterans organization. And so it's a very easy way to do it. So I encourage folks that do their birthday for honor flight Puget Sound.
Yeah.
My trips, you said Louise. Was she a like 96-year-old Marine?
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh. I thought you looked familiar. That's Louise George. Yes, she's a retired Marine. She was my first veteran that I took.
And, some of the guardians are grandchildren and great sons and daughters.
Yes.
Some are grandchildren and great.
Yep.
grandchildren. And so, anybody in your family, I think you have to be 18 or something, but like an 18-year-old to take grandpa or great grandpa on a trip. Boy, that's really something. And so Walter Liang's a friend of mine, Walter's.
Oh, yes.
Walter-
Love Walter.
And Walter did, he was on the board. And he did like 30, I don't know if he holds the record, there are a couple of people that probably, Renee and Denise and Jim, and people that gone on more trips than that, but it's pretty amazing. I wasn't the guardian to Robert Parker. He's since passed away. I think, gosh, was he on that trip? Anyway, he's a little guy. He's in the army. He's in the Battle of the Bulges. You start talking at the bar and Mr. Parker, what did you do? And he thought I was talking about his business, and he took out these cards. And his business was these affirmation cards. I mean, you could see them in Walmart or wherever. And they were just incredible. But he didn't really want to talk about it, but we got him talking about a heavy machine gun. I said, how in the world did you carry heavy machine gun? I mean, it's not a big guy. And he gotten wounded, and he had his voice was affected. And he talked, well, this was. And I said, how did you become a heavy machine gunner? And he said, well, the first 3 guys ahead of him all outranked him, they all got killed. And he was the last man, the 4th guy, and he survived it. But he gave quite a talk at the Sunday night thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
What's really nice is like my father-in-law, which I could really, I know him so well, but as much as he never talked about it, when we got together and they were with the guys, I've learned a heck of a lot from his days in Vietnam just by sitting and listening to him talk to the other guys. It was amazing. And that's what he kept saying, is he was finally able to talk about it, but not to us, just to the guys around who he knew what they all went through. And it was pretty phenomenal.
Any additional questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Lily.
Thank you. Now it's time to find out what's going on in the community. And well, let's see, who can we start off with here? How about Tacoma Community College, Gig Harbor?
I was here last week. There's not much of a change. We're still graduating on June 17th, and we're very excited about that. And we're kicking off our summer quarter at the end of June, and our continuing education program is now fully enrolling. So if you're looking for some fun stuff to do this summer, check out our catalog. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, Miriam, you might want to say something about this weekend, maybe?
Anyone have any idea what's going on this weekend? Everybody loves the parade. So just in the good naturedness of sharing about the Maritime Gig Festival, some of our volunteer t-shirts did arrive a little bit big. So I figured I'd try to doctor it up a little bit. But there is still time to volunteer. I could use some rubber wranglers Saturday, Sunday. So if you're down there at the park and just want to grab a safety vest and some gloves for you, we can help you pick up some garbage. So that'd be great down in the park. So be sure to come out all day Saturday, all day Sunday, tons of fun, tons of music. Check our website for the details of all the bands, and bring your dancing shoes Saturday night for Kalimba, Earth, Wind and Fire tribute band. Kicks off at 6:30. They're amazing. Yeah, right. Mind blown. So, and then Saturday night, our Sunday, we end the day with the Shy Boys. So fan favorite for the local community. So come on out. It's going to be a party. There you go.
Thanks, Miriam. And let's go with PennMet Parks and find out. Steve is on the line. I'll give him an opportunity to fill in. Okay, well, Steve, would you like to give us an update before we hear from Kurt?
Thank you, John. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. Yeah, couple things just to remind everybody of PennMet. We have our regular board meetings coming up on the 6th and the 20th of this month out of the Arletta Schoolhouse. So that'll be happening, conducting some business. Still moving and shaking on the community rec center project. Again, looking forward to providing some exciting news about PennMet Parks moving into our new offices for phase 1 completion. So that's forthcoming. And then just a reminder that the 26th and 27th of this month, public engagement, community meetings for the aquatics, community aquatics center feasibility study, and the dedicated space for seniors feasibility study. Also, if I could just make a mention and shout out to Lilia for her presentation. So impressed and thankful for honor flights. I was back in DC in 2019 and had a chance to see them in action at the changing of the guard, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. And that's an emotional experience to begin with, but to see all those veterans there with honor flight was just an incredible experience. So awesome program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And Kurt, would you like to add something and tell us a little bit about what's coming up?
Yes, thank you, John. Well, next week we'll have Tony Teravainen. Is that how you pronounce it? He's CEO and co-founder of the STEP Support the Enlisted Project. Linda Disney is here. She's their director of development. Linda, come on up here and tell us a little bit about the STEP program, because most of us in this area aren't familiar with it.
So Support the Enlisted Project, what we do is we provide financial assistance that includes counseling, education, and grants to junior enlisted, that's E1 through E6, military families who are facing a financial crisis. We also help transitioning veterans. But a financial crisis might be anything from being evicted. About 50% of our clients enlisted are facing homelessness. Is that crazy? I think that's crazy. We also help with utilities that might be being disconnected, and then babies. They just seem to turn up when people have the least amount of money. So we provide a lot of diapers throughout the year. But Tony will talk about how we got started, what we do. Like Honor Flight, we receive no federal funding. It is all done through grants and people like you that help us help our enlisted so that they're ready to deploy, so that they're able to PCS, so that they're able just to survive in our communities.
Thank you, Linda Disney. By the way, I asked Linda if she's related to the Disney clan, and she said, unfortunately, no. And then on June 15th, Sheriff Ed Troyer, the Pierce County Sheriff, will be here. That's going to be very fascinating and interesting. And then the week after that, we'll have Leslie Main, the founder of the Permission to Start Dreaming Foundation, and their new executive director, Steve Easton. And then the final Thursday in June, Chief Kelly Busey, the Gig Harbor Police Department, will be here. So we're going to get a lot of good information.
Thank you, Kurt. Any additional announcements? Anything we missed? Okay, well, thank you very much, Lilia, for your presentation. It was very inspirational. Yes, that was Larry's suggestions. So I might add that if any of you know.
You were not going to forget it.
Oh, okay. Well, if any of you have any suggestions for future programs, don't hesitate to let us know, because that's how we get many of our programs. So again, thank you all very much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
empathize